The original Nintendo Game Boy. I have so many positive memories of playing on that handheld. I played tons of Mario, Metroid, and Zelda games, and lots of Kirby, you name it. Especially that first party stuff. There was just many classics that came out, and it really demonstrated how awesome Nintendo was at making handheld games. And in today's video, we're not talking about any of those. We're talking about the worst of the worst, bad Game Boy games. There is a wide library of Game Boy games, and I searched through and found five in which I think are some of the worst Game Boy games made. You're going to have your worst five. I have chosen mine. They may be different, but I'm going to share with you why I think these are the 5 worst games. So sit back, relax. You may want to grab some popcorn. Here we go. First up is Mousetrap Hotel. Now, the reviewers back in the day gave this one a pass, but I don't know exactly when I picked this up. Probably fairly cheap early on in my collecting days, and I really dislike this game. This game has really bad controls, as well as kind of stupid enemies. What is that? Bubbles? And so you can't touch any bubbles. You're controlling a mouse, very slow movement, and has to have precise jumps. Nope, died right there. Let's try this again. Oh, got hit by a bubble, dead. Let's try this again. Oh, what hit me? Oh my gosh, terrible hit detection. I really hate this game. What's it marketed for? Is it for kids, adults? It's too tough for kids, and I think as an adult, I'm rather going to play a bajillion other Nintendo Game Boy games, as I think there's several other games on the library that are better. I just kept dying over and over again, and I know there's people out there that are going to be better players than me. They're going to be able to get through this mediocre at best game. I think it's terrible. I think it's one of the worst games on the Game Boy library. Not a lot of people talk about this. I just am a big platform game fan, and this terrible gameplay is why it's on here. I don't think the graphics are bad. I think the gameplay mechanic of just your mouse whipping bubbles with a tail, that's stupid. Okay? Come up with a better idea. The level design is actually okay, but the levels are long and the deaths are cheap. Avoid this one at all costs. In the 90s, everybody and their mom was making a sports game, and this is Soccer Mania, also known as Soccer Boy in Japan. And this is not a good sports game. It's not a good soccer game. And let me show you why. First and foremost, for me, it doesn't have to be realistic. It just has to be fun. One of my favorite sports games of all times is NES Ice Hockey. And I was hoping for that with this. Something that was really simple, fast-paced, and that's where this fails miserably. First and foremost, you can't see the entire screen. It's zoomed in. I don't like that. The controls are really rough. It kind of is trying to mimic, I do believe, sensible soccer, but fails on all levels. It's slow. It's monotonous. It's not fun to play. It is like a soccer game stuck in slow motion. To me, soccer is fast. It is intense. It is a fun game to play and watch, and there's several other Game Boy soccer games that are better. What are your favorites? And this one is just miserable. Just fails on all levels. Not fun to play. Slow to control. And was getting destroyed, by the way. I love that animation right there. That's how you're going to feel playing this game. You're going to be crying because it is just unenjoyable on all levels. Didn't matter who I played with. The computer was working me pretty good, and that's just not fun. Another game that I don't know who their market is, because I think as a kid I think it'd be too difficult. Watching grass grow is faster than playing this game. This next game's called a couple different things. Nebulous, I do believe, on the C64. Tower Toppler on the Atari 7800. I know there's fans out there of this game. Other than the rotating tower, I can't get into this whatsoever. Way too difficult, as well as cheap deaths. Yes, you're going to die quite a bit. I don't have a problem with the graphics. The control is what kills it for me. With the enemies and how they take you out, it's just unavoidable at times. And there's like a random factor to it too. And you're going to fall to your demise over and over again. I did, after sitting down and trying to seriously play this, I was able to progress a little bit in the first level, but still perished. I mean, I was feeling pretty good. Nope, still died. And once you get knocked, you go down to a lower part of each tower. This is not enjoyable. This is cheap. That's not how you make a game. I don't think this is a good game. I know there's people out there that do like this game, but this version especially is the worst. I don't think this is good at all. I don't think it's fun to replay. I'm going to go and play several other puzzle platformers over this, as I think this is one of the worst games on the Game Boy library. If you like this type of game, do not play this version of the game. Go and play the classic Commodore 64 version or the Amiga, as those ports are better. By the mid-90s, the Game Boy was getting long in the tooth, but it didn't stop companies from releasing popular movie tie-ins, and this is some licensed trash here, and this is Toy Story. And it takes, you know, the 16-bit ports and scales it down into a tragic port, and this has terrible graphics, gameplay. Oh my gosh, they took that pre-rendered graphics that made, you know, Donkey Kong Country very popular. It just doesn't work here for the Game Boy. You're probably wondering, what's up with the colored border? That's a Super Game Boy feature. It's very slow moving, controlling Woody, floaty jumps. It's hard to determine what you can jump on and what you can't. There's several things in the background that are just out of reach. You have to navigate around collecting stars. This is just a tragic mess of a game. And, you know, targeted towards kids who at the time, the movie's amazing. I love the movie. This is just a terrible tie-in. And there's other Toy Story games that are good. This is not one of them. This is an absolute abomination of a platformer. One of the worst platformers I've played. Avoid this at all costs. Play it if you want to cringe, for sure, because, man, this is just truly awful. I can't believe this got passed on and approved by saying, oh, we're good enough with this. Man, there must have been a deadline or something, because these are the types of games I want to hear the backstories of, to see how terrible development was with this, or the expectations. Holy cow, avoid this. Just because you can port something to an inferior handheld doesn't mean you should. And Pit Fighter is the #1 example of how not to port something. You know, it takes a pretty good fighting game in the arcades and tries to scale it down to a 2-button Game Boy port, and it just doesn't work. They try to mimic the graphics of the arcade. I think they do an okay job, but the problem is everything else that made the arcade awesome, the grudge matches, the weapons, the crowd interacting and throwing the opponent back into the ring, all that is gone. This is a totally inferior, terrible port, not great music, not great sound effects. You hear yeah over and over again. Man, I really despise this game. The Super Nintendo one is bad as well. I'll talk about that in another video of my bad Super Nintendo games. But man, I don't know. I think the Game Boy one actually is worst. And so the other thing too is once you win a match, you don't regain any health. There isn't any way of getting more health. You have one life. That's it. And so you do get a special move after you beat an opponent, and you have to use that special move to spam over and over again your next opponent. This is a truly difficult game to beat because of your single life, and I have to say, avoid it at all costs. And it is my pick for the worst Game Boy game of all time. So those are my 5 picks for the worst Game Boy games on its library. Do you agree? In the comments below, let me know. And if you have other games that you think deserve to be on the worst 5, put them in the comments and explain why. I have done a whole series of these. I've had a lot of fun doing them. A lot of people have given their comments and expressed the worst games that they think need to be on the list. And as always, thank you for coming to my channel. I have a wide variety of content that I upload every week. And so if you like what you see, consider hitting that like and subscribe button and clicking the bell as I'm uploading all the time, different content, Atari to Xbox, and you're going to find something that you're going to enjoy. I want to thank everybody. Let's keep it positive. This is the Immortal John Hancock, and you have a good day.